Dad, what's all this?
Oh, well, I thought I'd pop into the chemist and pick up a few bits and pieces. So this is for if she gets colicky, and this one's for when she starts teething. And this is the best bum cream there is. Worked wonders on Michael. He used to have a really sore bottom, and from time to time a bit of a sore winkle as well.
Okay.
Someone's just got a new nickname.
Oh!
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 154 of the Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast where one of us felt a little prick this week and also got his second COVID injection, or insert your own joke here. I'm Gavin.
And I feel 10 pounds lighter.
You've had a haircut.
I have had a haircut.
Haircut.
I got a haircut and I got a real job. I mean, I already had a real job, but now I've gotten a haircut.
Well done, you.
No.
But let's thank the...
I'm no longer a long-haired, freaky person.
You're very hirsute. You're a hairy woman. Not anymore.
Well,
you're still hairy, but... I'm going down a road that I really don't think I want to investigate any further than that.
Yes. And I got my eyebrows did as well while I was there. So
Did. Yes. What did you do? It's your eyebrows are so faint, it's kind of hard to...
Well, he shaped them. He gave them more of a shape. And they're not, quite so blocky as they were before. And he got rid of the very few wee little hairs.
Did you have a...
And I don't have a unibrow like my father and my sister and my niece. But... Hi, Kaylin.
Enjoy that one brow of yours. Your dad's monobrow is fucking legendary, though. It can be seen from space.
We call him the Sasquatch.
He just grunts.
and
then wanders into the woods.
And it is very hairy. It's been... yesterday was officially 2 weeks after my second shot. So I was like, boom, done. And I have contacted a tattoo parlor that comes highly recommended in the Lansing area. So they messaged me and asked me to give them a call so we could set up a consultation appointment. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh, they're doing it that way?
Yeah, well...
There's too many steps involved in this.
No, because it's not... Because what I'm getting done is not a direct, here's a picture, put this on me sort of thing. That we're working together to create something new inspired by something else. So that's why there's a consultation involved.
I kind of just don't like the to and fro. And I like to do this, sit down, get it done, and then leave.
Mm-hmm. Which is hilarious for something that's going to be on your body permanently. Mm-hmm.
Well, until you tattoo a jaguar over it. There's always that option.
Yes, I could see that happening to your tenant's tea in the future.
You think?
That's the only one of your tattoos that I could see you regretting at some point.
I never see it.
I know.
It's not one that I look at every day and think, oh, I have a tattoo there. I see it very infrequently. You took a photo of me post Jag in the mall yesterday, and you can just see the very edge of it in the photograph because I'm wearing shorts. But other than that, I don't really think about it that much, so I don't think about it enough to regret it. And when I look at it, I kind of like it.
Right, yeah.
Still.
People misinterpret it all the time, though.
Right. Well, that's their problem.
Yeah, it's funny, you're right, because I don't really think about the one on my leg either, except yesterday, when Nick and I went out to get his second dose, he's like, you've got a giant circle on your leg.
Did he not know that?
I think he did, but you haven't really seen it because yesterday was one of the first days I wore shorts or anything. So
Right.
I was like, yeah, see, that's you, and that's Sally, and that's Benny in Gallifreyan. And he's like, that's not a real language. And so we had this long conversation about
He has a point.
what makes a language a real language and stuff. And I'm like, people get married in Klingon, okay? So invented languages are still languages.
The generators just went off.
Yay!
I think it's called a brownout.
Yeah, we had a brownout. Apparently we had a blackout first, and then it turned into a brownout. So
I haven't had a brownout since I was 14. Let that hang there.
that's not what the bathroom said yesterday.
That was a brown in.
No, it seemed like you got most of that brown out. We are children.
It's too early in the morning for such scatological humour.
You had to drive all the way to the next town to buy coffee.
Yeah, the power was out. We were figuring that we were going to have to do this by candlelight and battery power. I drove to get coffee, had to go to the next town over. By the time I came back, the power was back on again, because of course it was.
Of course it was. What else is new besides, you getting your second dose, which is just huge.
It is huge. It was very emotional.
Yeah.
I kind of shed a little tear at it.
You did. You and the woman. I don't know why you have this effect over older women.
I made the woman cry. We went to the mall, which I don't normally go to anyway, but haven't been to for more than a year.
Right.
So it's my first trip to the mall in probably 2 years. Mm-hmm. And it's very Day of the Dead.
Yes.
It's kind of empty. The people that are there don't look like they're fully alive.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Right.
And there's this store, like I think you mentioned a few weeks ago, that used to be a big store, is now bankrupt or whatever.
All right. It's now an empty shell.
So now they have the little volunteer vaccination place. Mm-hmm. And there's a woman sitting outside at a desk, and she's maybe in her 60s or 70s. And as I was recounting this story in my head to somebody, to you I think it was,
Yeah.
she was a Scottish woman, and she wasn't a Scottish woman.
No.
But when she said to me, what time was your appointment? And I said, I think I'm a bit early. It's 11 o'clock, and I'm like there at like 10:40 or something like that. I'm convinced that she said to me, oh, never mind, son, come away in. And she didn't say that.
No,
but in
she
my
didn't.
head, she did say that. So I went in,
Oh.
and you go through the little process, and you sit down where this woman on a rolly chair scoots about and goes from person to person and
Right.
gives them their injection. And she asked me how I was doing and all that sort of stuff. And I said, I'm really looking forward to this.
Uh-huh.
And she said, I know it's such a big deal, isn't it? I said, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting places.
Yay.
And she said, I'm looking forward to seeing my 89-year-old mother who I haven't seen in more than a year.
Yeah.
And then she started to fill up. And then I started to fill up because she was starting to fill up. Plus, I'm really looking forward to getting out of the state and getting
Right,
out
yeah.
going back to Connecticut.
Right. And seeing my mom, who we haven't seen in over a year.
So, yeah, it was all kind of
Yeah.
a very oofty moment.
It really was.
I'm
I've
kind of
gotten it.
sore and I'm a little lethargic, so there'll be no jokes this week.
Oh, they'll still be jokes. They just won't be
Just-
good ones.
Or deliberate.
Yeah, and the kids get their first dose on Monday, so we are almost a completely fully vaccinated family, and couldn't happen soon enough.
I know.
Now that the CDC says no, it's all right. Everybody just
Fuck in the street.
I don't think they've gone that
There's
far.
people fucking in the street.
There's not people fucking in the street.
And in other news, we're 3 years old today. Or ish.
The podcast
The
is.
podcast is 3. We've been doing this for 3 years.
And our sense of humor.
I wouldn't go that far. So happy birthday to us.
Happy birthday to us.
You can buy us a coffee if you like.
Yeah.
Shall we preamble, my dear?
Hint, hint. Yes, please. Yeah. It's okay. It's all right. You're...
Give us some of that vaccinated Corey news.
Yes, there you go. You got there in the end.
Story of my life.
Millie Gibson, or Kelly the Chin,
Kelly Chin.
as she's known around these parts, has put one mystery to rest this week. While people have speculated the slit in her eyebrow was something intentionally put in to make the character edgy, it's actually just a scar from a childhood injury when she was like 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah, she ran into a banister or something.
Yeah. Apparently her dad gets really mad when people online, speculate that she did it intentionally to herself just to look cool and edgy
the
as
problem
Kelly
is
the Chin.
it does look cool. That's the problem that it has, you see.
He's like, no, she didn't do it intentionally. Why would anybody do that? So he's really defensive of his daughter, which is very sweet. But yes, not intentional. Looks cool, but not intentional.
And I think the other reason people think it was intentional was the thing that she was in last. Mm-hmm. I think they covered it up.
Huh.
So it didn't look like she had it then.
Right.
But obviously she did.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got it. We've talked about this several times. My little eyebrow, baldy bit that's covered up by my longer brow lashes, if that's what they're called.
Anyway, maybe we need to get your eyebrows waxed as well.
I don't know if there's enough wax.
There's always enough wax. If there's anything I've learned as a woman over the years, there's always enough wax.
Bless those bees, presumably.
You can have your whole...
Bees?
You could recreate the whole
You can have your whole what?
You can recreate the whole Kelly Clarkson
Oh, okay. Whole with a
scene
W.
in
Okay.
The 40-Year-Old Virgin, only with your eyebrows and not your chest. Because you are not Steve Carell when it comes to your chest.
Nope, I'm Tell Savalas. Or a bald man from this century.
The Rock?
Sure.
Okay. From Coronation Street to the mayor's seat.
What?
Yes. Tracy Babin, who played Trisha Armstrong on the show, is the newly elected mayor of West Yorkshire.
Good for her.
Congratulations to her. Hope she remembers to pay her TV license.
Not sure I get that.
On the show, Trisha Armstrong goes to prison for a week because she forgets to pay her TV license.
Tremendous. Love it. Good for her.
And we complain about storylines now.
What an accomplishment.
Yeah, seriously. Well done. It's not easy running for public office.
No, and
I
especially
know.
when you have a history in inverted commas, light entertainment. I would imagine that she'd have a problem with people taking her seriously.
Well.
Yeah, I know. I am fired.
And a Kardashian may be the next governor of California after
That's never going to happen. Is it?
after the Terminator has already been the governor.
Yeah, but this is America.
California. Finally, sad medical news for former Corey star Charlie Condu as he continues to battle long COVID. The former Marcus Dent has lost the use of his fingers on his left hand due to nerve damage caused by the disease. So,
Yikes.
get well soon.
Is that or there's something else going on there?
No, that's what the doctors say, that the long COVID is because you get nerve damage when parts of your body don't get enough oxygen.
Right.
So, and COVID prevents parts of your body from getting enough oxygen, and that's why it causes problems with things other than your lungs because it messes up other parts of your body. So, and God only knows what the long-term consequences will be in the future. And on that cheery note, that's Corey News.
And now sport. Or our mailbag. Higher numbers than usual last week of downloads, which has kind of resulted in a few more bits of correspondence. So I've just plucked out one of each from 3 listeners. Wendy wrote in to say she remembers being a goth in 1984 and going to see the Sisters of Mercy with her friends in New York City. I actually felt safest in London. No one seemed to care how we looked. Anywho, I've been feeling my most goth during this pandemic. There's something that I think I can relate to.
Yeah, because everybody's really, really pale because they haven't been going outside.
Right. Just learned about this story that inspired all. Always a pleasure listening to the podcast. I just wanted to say the show can't get more blacker. A Spinal Tap reference there. I think maybe the first one in 3 years. Thanks, Wendy. Then Aileen wrote in to say, you do realise this story was written in collaboration with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation and is written to explore this as a hate crime, which we did realise.
Yes, we we made a very pointed decision not to mention Sophie Lancaster by name because we wanted our criticism of the show to be our criticism of the show and not to be construed as criticism of the foundation and of the family.
Right. And finally, Christy P wrote in to say it's always difficult to give constructive criticism on storylines that are highly promoted and acquiring vast media attention. I want to personally thank you guys for highlighting some concerns in our latest podcast in a very professional, empathetic manner. Critiquing aspects of a storyline doesn't equate to being ignorant of the seriousness of the subject matter or of the real-life situations that inspire a given storyline in its fictional context. Using dismissive incomprehension to dissuade such conversations from occurring is both harmful and, ironically, more ignorant a practice than providing constructive criticism in the first place. With my own minor criticisms aside, I felt the Nina and Seb storyline is incredibly well done, well researched, and is highly deserving of the praise it's receiving.
Yes. Thank you, Christy. I think we've covered all of our bases there.
All the bases done.
Huzzah!
Whew. And now, Will Podcast for Coffee. It grows in you, doesn't it?
You're so proud of that.
I really am. As predicted, though, we're buying our own coffees this week.
Yeah. Nobody bought us a coffee last week.
No,
Makes me sad.
I'm going to keep the theme tune handy, though, in case we ever come up with a Seattle-based segment for our Corey-themed podcast.
And maybe somebody will buy us a coffee this week.
And I'll just explain how you can do that.
Yes, please.
If you go to Ko-Fi, that's ko-fi.com/the talk of the street, you can buy us a coffee. Mm-hmm. Some people have done it. It's the tastiest coffee we ever have.
Yes, because it's
a coffee
free.
That's free. So if you feel like doing that, support the podcast, you can go there, and we'd be very grateful if you did.
Yes, we would.
And now, this.
Welcome.
Welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about Nocturnal Tramp.
Nocturnal Tramp.
I'm quite proud of this music as well. There's more to it.
You're so cute.
It's more layered. Nocturnal Tramp.
No idea.
That's right. This was Sarah describing David and his weird nighttime activities.
Oh, God.
Remember that storyline?
Ugh.
And I was Gavin and you were sleepy. We were late getting started on the podcast because you were sleepy.
No.
Because you had binge watched Drag Race, which we agreed probably wasn't a me thing.
Oh, Drag Race.
Mm-hmm. What did you think I said?
Rag Race. You said Rag Race, and that's a completely different.
Well, maybe why I said that.
Completely different show.
Is because we insisted that aside from Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? A pup named Scooby-Doo in the two movies, most Scooby-Doo is shite, and then I did a passable Scooby impression, including Rory Roos. And now Rory Roos, remember? Poor Oliver has a tough week, what with all the seizures and that. Steve will do anything for a decent bit of sleep, then spies Tracy's cake. Now, Steve, don't go eating that cake. Yasmin is a credible threat to society and a flight risk, so Imran's hopes of getting her bail are in jeopardy.
Oh, well,
There's history repeating itself.
Seriously.
Bernie's hitting the cider at work and leads Kathy astray. The males in the Bailey household have a really bad day, and Danny's replacement at the bistro, because Danny left, by the way, is not a fan of Ed's handiwork or his colour. Gemma's not looking forward to her first therapy group session, but is surprised to find others share her story, except not with quads. Arthur invites Evelyn to an afternoon dance. David has a tantrum on the bonnet of a Ford Escort. Craig is made of nylon, and tall Matt speaks.
And then disappears completely from the show.
Our moment of the week was David scoring out Mother and writing Gail on her birthday card.
Still love that. Still love it.
And our boring moment of the week was Rita and Audrey jealous of Evelyn's afternoon dance, and that was Coronation Street and the talk of the street, this time last year. Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please. I mean, it's basically just one storyline.
No, there's a few.
There's one, and then there's like two little ones.
Well, I've split the big one into two.
Of course you did, because why not? Why not make things more complicated for yourself when your brain is all foggy?
So the first storyline is also our last storyline. So our first storyline is the second storyline, which is the criminals. On Monday, Dev goes round to see Asha, but she doesn't know, so it's news to her to hear that Seb died yesterday. ITV Corey, who is looking more and more like Sid from Toy Story these days, doesn't understand because people get beaten up every day and don't die. Dev is just glad that Asha and Aggie were nowhere near. And after Dev leaves, ITV Corey wonders why Asha is texting Nina and seems to have trouble understanding sadness and empathy. He explains that the police are definitely going to want a statement from them both, so she has to say that she was at home with him, and she has to get Amy on side to keep her mouth shut too.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yep. Yeah, have you met Amy?
Have you met Amy?
Have you met Amy's mum?
Yeah.
Because Amy is her mum's daughter.
Right.
In a lot of ways.
Only with her dad's empathy.
But with extra conniving, I think. At the hospital, Nina is still beating herself up for not remembering, for having the idea to walk by the canal in the first place.
Poor choice of words there, Broom.
I know. It wasn't intentional. Roy assures her that she can get home soon. None of this is her fault, and whoever is responsible will be brought to justice. Then Kev nips into Dev's for some coffee. On the house. Thanks, Dev. And Kev asks if Asha's back home because he knew that she'd moved in with ITV Corey and that Nina has fingered ITV Corey as being the last person that she saw. He was there last night and Kev would want Asha as far away from him as possible.
If Asha was his daughter.
But Dev knew nothing of this.
Yes.
So Asha goes to speak with Amy, and while she's gone, Kelly the Chin drops in. She's desperate with worry and is then sickened to learn that ITV Corey has got an alibi for the night in question. He tells her to leave, deny everything, and never come back.
And maybe find her own alibi.
Yeah, find someone else. Find your own person to lie for you.
Right. Yeah.
Great advice. Then
so
Amy
gross.
meets Asha in Roy's Rolls and is just about to get Asha's side of the story when a frantic Dev comes in, demanding to know why she never told him that ITV Corey and Kelly the Chin were suspects. So Amy listens on, baffled, as Asha insists that ITV Corey is innocent and that the two of them were at home watching Tennant all night.
We watched Tenet.
Well, I wasn't really watching it.
It was not good.
It seemed
I
a
love-
movie where things went bomb,
Well, it's
bomb.
it's Christopher Nolan.
You could never tell. It
He
sounded
loves
like
that
Inception.
sound effect. Right, yeah. And it basically,
And it looked a bit like Inception as well. I
yeah,
have to
it
say.
was basically Inception only with time, where they kept recording people going backwards and stuff. And it was it was a mess of a movie. It really was.
You watched it all. Did it get any better when I went to
No.
bed? No.
If anything, it got worse.
So here's how the police could. Well, they don't have to. But they
Right.
could have said, okay, what happens in Tennant then? Because ITV Corey's never understanding that.
I know. It was hilarious when he's like, have you seen it? Oh, wow. It just boggles the mind, doesn't it? What a weird movie. It's like, wow. You've kind of heard about the movie then.
When Dev leaves, Amy wants to know what the fuck was going on because Asha wasn't with ITV Corey. Asha was with her. Asha seems to think this is a mere inconvenience and she knows that ITV Corey was at home because he said so and she trusts him and she wonders if Amy's accusing him of being a murderer. Amy says she isn't because she doesn't know and neither do you, she says.
Right.
If he was at home, his phone will be able to prove it. She says Asha lying makes him look guilty and it makes her look guilty too. Asha is such a fucking pushover right now that she starts to crumble like a cheap suit. Kelly the Chin, meanwhile, is at home packing when Toya comes in with the promise of veggie lasagna for dinner. Thanks to their stupid little window from the stairwell, Toya is already aware that Kelly's looking to do a runner before she's even opened her mouth.
People really loved your tweet this week about that stupid little window.
It's this oddest little window because
It doesn't make any sense.
you have a locking door.
Yeah.
I'm going to call your front door.
Yeah.
Right next to a window, which is fine. But the window looks out into a communal
hallway.
stairwell.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
If you have a window like that in your house, tell us why.
Maybe it's just because it's an old building and it made sense at the
So
time
of the
before
builder's
they
yard, but
before they
why a builder
sectioned.
would need to know, unless it was an office maybe.
Yeah.
Toya offers her ear. Kelly asks Toya if she'd lie for her, and at that, the old Bill arrive looking for Kelly, and they don't even bother with asking her to answer a few questions down at the station, and she's immediately arrested on suspicion of assault of Nina and the murder of Seb. And this is how Toya finds out that Seb's dead.
It's always disturbing to me when people get arrested on the show, because I'm so programmed to hear the police give the Miranda rights to people when they get arrested. So when it doesn't happen, because it's not America, I'm always kind of like, whoa, what's going on here?
Oh, you still get your rights.
Yeah, but they never do it on the show.
Well, they do it when Craig's doing it. When Craig is reminding us all that he's a police officer. Because they read them to Gary, I think.
Did he?
But normally you go down to the station first for a chat.
Right.
Because as soon as you arrest someone, you only have, I think, 24 hours, and then you have to charge them with something.
Right.
So you ask them down for answer a few questions. Nobody's arrested, so there's no clock ticking. Tends to be how it...
Yeah.
Well, in my limited experience, that seems to be what happens.
Right. And this is markedly different from what happens next with another character.
Right. So Kelly gets carted away just as Imran gets home. Toya explains on the down low that she was planning on doing a runner and had asked Toya to lie for her. Ash is on the other side of the street and sees this go down, her phone buzzing from messages from ITV Corey. So she gets home to find ITV Corey talking to the police.
Right. Very nicely, just sitting and having a chit-chat at the table.
Ah, here comes my alibi now, he says.
Ugh.
Tell them you were with me all night.
Watching Tenet.
Which is very confusing. I've just a movie with my mom. If only that happened. Asha pauses and then starts rabbiting on about how ITV Corey didn't do it. The police quickly detect Asha as a weak link in this story and press her, and she caves and admits that she was with Amy. But ITV Corey wanting me to lie just proves that he didn't do it. Oh, pig's tits, says ITV Corey. And he gets arrested on suspicion of the assault of Nina and the murder of Seb. What have I done? Says Asha.
Ugh.
Weatherfield forensics apparently are quite happy to go about their work while the occupants of the homes remain in residence and are even accepting visitors in the form of Amy.
Right.
ITV Corey's trainers are bagged, tagged and taken away.
However, they do a much better job than they did when they went through Yasmin and Tim's dad's house.
Missed the cameras.
And missed the cameras and didn't seem to bag anything. And weren't wearing the hazmat suits.
Right. At the police station, the cops are pressurising Kelly for her story. Imran urges her to tell the truth, which I'm not sure is really the advice of a solicitor and is more the advice of a foster father. But Kelly, she keeps stum. Back at the flat, Asha is at least realising that ITV Corey put her in an awful position, but she's still of the opinion that he's innocent. Amy tells her to open her fucking eyes and smell the coffee. He's as guilty as get out. She always knew he was bad news. Asha does a people's eyebrow, but keeps quiet. Then we see ITV Stefan. He's allowed to see ITV Corey at the cop shop, and if ITV Corey was actually beginning to feel some remorse or responsibility for his actions on any level, those feelings are quickly brushed away when ITV Stefan tells his son that he'll get him out of here, just keep your mouth shut. ITV Corey seems most worried about his non-existent football career through all of this.
I know. That was...
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, definitely, right?
No, yeah. I've lost my chance to play football professionally.
When he's just been given a youth contract with Weddy County.
Right, and we've never seen him play or express any sort of interest in playing.
He's been to training once. He spends all the rest of his day on the couch playing Xbox.
Right.
Eats curries.
Right.
Even at a young age, I think you kind of look after yourself a little bit better than that.
Right,
if you want to be a professional athlete.
James takes really good care of himself, and his parents both say, "Oi, lay off the carbs there, pal."
And frankly, it shows.
Yeah. More James in the show.
So Asha goes to visit Nina at the hospital, waking her up after Roy has carefully cared for her to sleep. She's not here for trouble. She just needs a couple of minutes. So Asha does her usual apology with caveats thing. She admits to not giving ITV Corey an alibi, which means that she lied to Nina before, and when it became clear that Asha still doesn't believe ITV Corey did any of this, Nina loses her temper. Tells Asha she doesn't care about what happened to Seb. All she cares about is cleaning her own conscience. Well, Nina doesn't forgive her, and she never will. Mm-hmm. The police tried to question ITV Corey, but despite the severity of the situation, he no comments his way through the start of the interview, but admits that he doesn't have an alibi, but he didn't do it. Mm-hmm. And even ITV Stefan doesn't look convinced.
No.
Asha goes home to Dev. Her best mates hate her for lying, and her boyfriend hates her for telling the truth. He's been arrested. Maybe the millions of people who think ITV Corey did do it have a point, she says, and she asks to move back home. Dev nods and manages to conceal his glee. Just. Then Toya's at the Rovers. Oh, Jesus. Unburdening herself onto Jenny about Kelly the Chin. Sharon's there and thinks it would be useful for Toya to get Leanne's perspective on all this. But the collective willpower of 10 million people shouting, "Oh, do fuck off, Sharon," at the TV makes Jenny and Toya agree that Leanne doesn't need to know about any of this.
Right, yeah, that they have enough on their plate. And Toya doesn't know how to get a hold of Leanne.
At that point, Sharon went full pantomime villain.
Yeah, absolutely.
She might as well have had a twirly moustache.
It was the most ridiculous bit of Sharon that we've seen, and we've seen some ridiculousness.
Right. ITV Corey has been let go, although he's under orders to live with ITV Stefan and is accompanied to the flat by yet another policeman who isn't Craig. Dev is there with Asha and tells ITV Corey if he ever goes near Asha again, he'll break every bone in his body. "You're dumped," says Dev, which seems to sting Asha more than it does ITV Corey.
Although ITV Corey is... He comes in and he just immediately starts yelling and berating Asha and everything right in front of that police officer. It's like, yeah, this doesn't make you look guilty at all, right, sir.
Kelly the Chin has been released and Imran pisses on Toya's chips when he explains it's under investigation while they wait on forensics. It isn't the end, it's just the beginning. Then on Wednesday at the flat, Toya and Imran are having a crisis of confidence. They don't know how to help Kelly the Chin or if they even should. Then Kelly comes out of her room and leaves, ignoring the brew that Toya's made and everything. What a monster.
Right.
And she goes round to see ITV Corey. She's spoken with Imran and reckons that telling the truth might be the best thing. Because he's a lawyer. Right.
And also, they're back in that flat.
I know. Were they packing? I'm not sure.
No, because the police officer wasn't with him anymore. Because the police were making sure that he went back to his parents' house. And then what? Then
I was confused by that as well.
Then they leave again? The police? They're like, all right, well, we've gotten you here. Now we're done.
Because he was there in the flat on his own at that point.
Right, yeah. So how does that prevent him from just sneaking back and living there again?
ITV Corey calls Imran more open university than Oxbridge.
Yeah, he can fuck right off. He can fuck right off. Nobody goes after Imran on my watch.
And I asked Kelly if what in her pea-sized brain makes her think that telling the truth is a good idea. And at this, ITV Stefan literally bursts into the flat like a superhero. Hands
or
on
a
his
super
hips,
villain.
asking what the fuck is going on. ITV Stefan throws Kelly the Chin out and then warns ITV Corey that if he was in the area of the attack, maybe just trying to help, trying to help the situation, forensics will be all over that like flies on shite. So if that's the case, he needs to go tell the police now before they come to their own conclusions. This is called controlling the narrative, isn't it, Helen?
Yes, it is.
Imran and Toya are still as conflicted when they bump into Kelly the Chin later on the street. Toya explains that the social services are assessing whether it's safe for her to stay with him, but Imran assures her that she isn't alone in all this. And just like that, Laura the Chin shows back up again.
Yes, she does.
I didn't hate her as much beforehand. She's now really reprehensible now, isn't she? Laura the Chin.
She was already reprehensible. She left a child on her own with no care in the world. Right. Just bye.
So Laura the Chin came as soon as she heard, and it has nothing to do with getting dumped by her latest bloke. But it's just as well she arrived when she did, what with the bother that Kelly the Chin's gotten into with Imran and Toya, and she knocks any idea of cooperating with the police on the head. Saying out is Laura the Chin's advice.
Yeah, which turns out to be very, very bad advice.
So ITV Corey and ITV Stefan get to the police station while Abby's still there. Whoa. You better hand yourself in, you fucking scumbag, Abby says. Whoa, 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 woman, says ITV
Oh,
Stefan.
God.
And for once, ITV Corey isn't the worst person in the conversation. He tells Abby he's here to set the record straight and to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Then Imran gets a call asking Kelly the Chin to come and answer some more questions, but Laura the Chin says that she'll land this plane and deliver this baby herself. And she goes off with her daughter. Imran insists that she needs a lawyer. Toy, who seems quite pleased that Kelly the Chin has been taken off their hands by Laura the Chin, tells Imran to let her go. Then Billy comes along to tell him that Laura knocked him up this morning.
But not like that.
And didn't even know Kelly was in trouble until Billy's lips got a flapping.
But not like that.
Oh. Imran races to the police station and confronts Laura with the Billy information, and now he's representing Kelly again. Let's get cracking, says the copper. Kelly the Chin, says the policeman. Where were you on the night in question? She denies having anything to do with anything, but it's revealed that forensics have found blood splatter on her clothes, and there's new information to suggest that she was the driving force behind this attack. Later, in private, Imran advises Kelly the Chin that her window of telling the truth and being in control of this is narrowing quickly, and he urges her to come clean about her role in the attack. She says that she can't. He and Toya will hate her. Imran explains that when they fostered her, it was a commitment to care for her, and he's not about to back off now. So, back with the police. Kelly admits to following Seb and Nina, and it was just verbals and nothing too heavy, but it got crazy quickly. Summer had already gone home at this point. Eli pushed over Nina. ITV Corey attacked Seb and kicked fuck out of him. Kelly the Chin claims that she was trying to pull ITV Corey off, to get him to stop. The cop plays a voicemail and we hear a female laughing, and it had to be Kelly the Chin because Summer had already gone home. And then it's revealed that ITV Corey has told a different story and they have DNA to prove that she struck Nina in the face. Kelly admits to the slap but says it was before things got nasty. Imran keeps his mouth shut and looks like he wishes that he'd left this to Laura the Chin. And according to ITV Corey, Kelly the Chin kicked Seb's head like a football because she looks like she's capable of that.
Right, yeah, this is
physically.
This is where this whole thing just falls apart, and you'd think that the cops would realize this. Okay.
Right. Because he also said that he was the one that tried to pull her off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's like twice the size of her.
Yeah. Kelly the Chin kicked. Surely they can look at the wounds on Seb's body and say, and look at Kelly and look at Kelly's feet and say, nah. Surely.
I imagine that Kelly the Chin did get a couple of kicks in. Mm-hmm. I don't imagine that she was the one that kicked anybody's head about.
No, like a football. Yeah. It's really weird that she's the one who kicked somebody's head like a football and not, I don't know, the footballer.
But he gave his statement voluntarily. She only gives answers when presented with incontrovertible evidence. Who am I supposed to believe? Say the police.
Right, but when he was first, that happened the second time he was brought in by his skeevy dad. It didn't happen the first time when the police brought him in.
No, he lied about an alibi.
Right, yeah. He's a proven liar.
Mm-hmm.
The police know this kid lies. Proven liar. But we're going to take his statement as fact. Why? Because his dad is rich?
Because his dad owns Seriously and Hiya.
It's ridiculous.
Imran gets home without Kelly the Chin. She's in custody, up in court tomorrow. ITV Corey has gone from prime suspect to star witness and pinned the whole lot on Kelly the Chin, and she's been charged with Nina's assault and Seb's murder. Imran believes that she didn't do it, but Toya rightly points out that around Coronation Street, no one's going to give a fuck whether she did it or not.
Yeah.
Charged means guilty.
Yeah.
Imran says they have to stand by her and help her prove her innocence. Toya does a little head wobble that says, yeah, or we could just say that we lost her. On Friday, Laura turns up to shout at Imran for supposedly representing Kelly right into a murder charge. If she gets out, Laura has applied to get custody of her daughter again. Imran spits that this is all Laura's fault for abandoning her in the first place. But Laura claims that she wants to make things right. And by the way, fuck you. When she leaves, Imran insists that Kelly's better with them, and Toya's looking like she's wishing that they'd stuck with babies. at Kelly's bail hearing. Abby and Laura the Chin are in Teddens while Imran makes a plea for Kelly to be granted bail. She's not a flight risk and she can be tagged, but the judge isn't interested in bail and it's refused because the charges are so severe. And Kelly will be remanded in a training facility, whatever the fuck that is. I guess a young offenders something.
Yeah, juvie.
So Imran gets home. Toya cares so much about this that she didn't go to court or phone Imran at any point, so surprised when Kelly the Chin doesn't get back with him. Imran is distraught and again insists that Kelly will need all the support, but Toya doesn't look like she's on board and suggests that whenever Kelly gets out, the last place she should be is anywhere near Coronation Street, which means that she should be nowhere near them. This isn't a bad point, and Imran looks crushed. And I didn't do it this time.
Good job. Although it's obvious he's projecting his sister and the fact that he wasn't able to save his sister onto Kelly.
You think?
Yeah, this is exactly what's happening.
Because there's a school of thought that their reactions to this, Imran and Toya's, would be better suited if they were, punch the microphone, if they were reversed.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's much more interesting for the man to be the one to, at this point, be the more kind of maternal and we got to stick by this kid no matter what. I think that's very intriguing. And also, I firmly believe that Imran is projecting Rana onto Kelly, and the fact that he wasn't able to save his younger sister,
right?
But he can save this.
That's an interesting point.
Younger teenager from herself and from all of this.
Because nothing that Toya is saying at this point is wrong.
No. But on the other side, nothing Imran's saying is really wrong either. They both make excellent points. Like Imran's saying, would you be saying the same thing if she was our biological child?
Right. And that is a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both making good points.
Yeah.
Toya, I think, though, is, again, she will say at some point, they've been looking after her for 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. This isn't their responsibility.
Yeah.
But Imran's point is, it is their responsibility.
Right, yeah.
Because they agreed to foster her. Mm-hmm. And he just wants to see through the promise that was made at that point.
Absolutely.
But it turns out to be a moot point anyway. Social services will rehouse Kelly when she gets out. Toy thinks it's for the best, but Imran thinks that they've failed her. Toy doesn't agree and doesn't think this is due to anything that they've done.
Well,
what if it's something that we didn't do, asks Imran.
Like, give her a curfew and make sure that she was home.
That's the obvious thing.
Like, it's like Kelly was more a roommate than anything else. Mm-hmm. And in fairness, Toya did try to put the smack down a little bit, and Imran said, no, let her be a kid. And maybe he shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. They were trying to be too right on and
right.
And too, well, we were kids too, blah, blah,
right,
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But
she really needed structure.
And rules.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what she really needed. And if any parents on the street could have provided structure and rules to this child, it should have been Imran and Toya. The lawyer and the
social worker / salesperson at the knicker factory.
Therapist person.
Just don't meet her in the bistro. So Toya points out that she's been living with them for 15 minutes and has been charged with murder. It's not their fault. Imran maintains that they made a promise that he intends to keep. On the street, Laura the Chin starts laying into Imran and Toya, accusing them of cutting Kelly the Chin loose because she's not good enough for the two of them. But Toya isn't about to take any of this because we can remember what stock Toya came from. Mm-hmm. And she lays down some truth bombs on Laura. Where the fuck have you been for the last 6 months when you were needed? Laura says it wasn't her fault. Never is, for the likes of you, says Toya. Are you calling me a bad mother? I'm calling you a disgraceful mother, says Toya.
Yeah.
And when Laura picks up that Toya can't have kids of her own, Toya points out that at least she knows what it's like to have a child look to her for love and for guidance, something that Laura the Chin will never experience.
Yeah.
And that was
Shut
fucking incredible.
Her up.
Mm-hmm. In the factory, after the scene, Toya opens up to Sarah, who thought that she was going to have to pull Toya off.
But not like that.
There we go. We can do it that time. Toya isn't sure about any of this. It's such a mess. Imran's representing Kelly the Chin, which arguably maybe he shouldn't be doing.
Right, yeah. There's a conflict of interest there.
Abby lives round the corner and she's friends with Nina. How are any of them going to feel about this? And what if she really is guilty? Such a mess. So Sarah gives Toya the rest of the day off. So when she goes home and tells Imran that they didn't do what they're doing to help kids who have it easy, they're doing what they're doing to help people like Kelly the Chin, and she's ashamed of that her first instinct was to run. She agrees with Imran now. Kelly needs someone in her corner, whether or not that she's guilty. And Imran is so touched by this
Yes.
that they definitely get their hole after that.
Oh, thank God.
And that's as far as we get with that bit.
And
the
they
story
both
this
say I
week.
love you to one another, and it's so sweet. And I
Because it
just-
looks like this was going to be something that was going to
That
be a
might
real
tear them
wedge
apart,
between
yeah.
them, right? Because their position on it was so disparate, and there didn't seem to be any way to fix that. Because, like we said, nobody was wrong. Mm-hmm. There wasn't really a wrong opinion to back away from.
Right.
But yeah, I'm glad that Toya kind of came round because
Yeah.
while they both went wrong,
Yeah.
Imran was more right.
Yeah. 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 I know I'm biased, but
I think the whole world's biased.
Imran and Toya are my favorites. I can't help it. So any speculation that something might come between them, I'm heavily against.
Imran's not having much luck in court these days, though.
No, he really isn't. Maybe he shouldn't have said to the judge that he's also Kelly's foster
I didn't
parent.
think that was a good thing to say either,
No.
but it's the truth.
I mean, it's the truth, but
Don't mention it. Don't
Right.
say that you're not her foster parent.
right, yeah, it's
Just don't say it at all.
Yeah, because it is a blatant conflict of interest. Yeah, of course you want bail for this kid.
How do you think Abby's going to react to this? Because now Kelly's been charged, and I think what Toya said roundabout, nobody's going to care whether or not that's true. The fact that she's been charged means that she's guilty in a lot of people's eyes. And the way that Abby's going this week,
I think Abby, rightly, no matter what the police say, knows that Corey was the mastermind of this, that he was heavily involved. Because and we'll talk about this, hopefully, when it happens, when the police come to her and tell her that certain people have been charged, when Corey's name isn't mentioned in people who have been charged,
right?
Abby goes off. That's when she really flies off the rails.
I'm not saying that somebody of Kelly's size and build is impossible for her to be so violent and so aggressive that she's
Right.
capable of killing somebody, because that's not the differentiator between whether somebody's capable of that or not.
Right,
Because you don't know what people are capable of.
right.
But
No.
you look at the two of them.
Yeah.
You look at her in the lineup photograph that
Right.
they got, and she's the smallest out the lot.
Right.
With, I think maybe Summer's round about the same size as them.
Right.
But all the boys are much bigger,
Yes.
taller, bigger built, and frankly look far more aggressive than she does.
Yes.
So you look at the two of them in that situation, and
Yeah.
you wonder who had the strength to stop or fail to stop
Right.
something happening.
Right.
Is it ITV Corey or is it Kelly the Chin?
Yeah.
Which of the two of them look like they have it in them to kick the fuck out of somebody's head?
And it's frustrating because did he throw those sneakers away?
He washed them. He put them in the washing machine.
Okay, because they bagged those.
There's bound to be blood splatter on them
Yeah,
as well.
washing your sneakers does not completely remove blood splatter.
No, and
Especially
if anything, it's suspicious that you
not-
try to.
Especially not a teenage boy's ability to wash something.
Right.
You know, so it's really frustrating to me that the forensics came back and supposedly cleared ITV Corey.
Well, we don't know that. We know that it implicated Kelly, and I absolutely believe that there's blood splatter on her
Yeah,
shoes because she was part of it,
right,
and she got a few kicks in.
right.
But the way that it's been implied is that you're right. Is that there's nothing on
On
ITV Corey's.
Yeah, and that
And
can't
that's impossible.
possibly be true. That can't possibly be true. So this really frustrates me.
Right.
And just, and it feels like they're trying to also show a little bit of bias on the side of the police that will believe this kid from
a broken
the
home.
upper class.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
We'll believe the kid from the upper class, and we will, even though he's a proven liar, and we will doubt the words of this girl who's in foster care
Right.
and down on her luck and everything else. Even though before Rick the Chin disappeared, she was going to an elite school and her family had money too.
Right.
So
How quickly?
I don't know.
We'll swing back to this again at the end. In the meantime, our next storyline is touching on Tyrone and Alina. On Monday at the flat, Alina's looking at new flats with Emma, getting all excited and stuff. When Tyrone rushes through and heads for the door, he has to open the garage because Kev and Abby are otherwise engaged because Seb's dead.
No, but he doesn't say Seb's dead. He's not the one who tells them Seb's dead. Just that, he has to go because Abby and Kev aren't
right.
at work.
Because of the attack.
Yes.
Then 4/5 of an episode later, after leaving the house, Tyrone has worked out that both Alina and Emma have had their whole of a Seb in the past, and so goes back home to be sympathetic to them while they talk about him being a swell guy and that.
Right, but he's not the one who told them Seb's dead.
You've already said that.
Right. So
Are you going to say that after every paragraph that I read out?
No, but you didn't explain how Alina and Emma now know that Seb is dead.
How do they know?
Somebody else came in afterwards. Who was it? Who came in afterwards and told them?
Oh, you seem to be Billy Big Knowledge on it.
Well, no, I can't remember who it was.
Oh, well, maybe you should have taken fucking notes then.
Well, you're the one who does the notes, not me.
Emma wants to do something to remember him by.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Fizz is offering her condolences to Kev on the street when Tyrone walks by with flowers, and she gives him a hard time. You never bought me flowers. Guess I wasn't young or pretty enough, she says.
Yeah, white lilies. Maybe pick up on the context there, Fizz.
Tyrone,
Nobody buys white lilies for somebody they're getting their hole off of.
Tyrone, I'll take a note.
Unless it's Jesus.
Tyrone explains that they're for Seb, and Fizz now gives him a hard time for buying such a measly bunch. Then Emma and Alina have turned the metaphorical community garden into a memorial to Seb. Fizz comes along and apologises for earlier. Tyrone claims to have forgotten about it already, but knew what she was talking about, so hadn't. Mm-hmm. That's as far as we got with that. Mm-hmm. I'm unsure why it was necessary to portray Fizz in such an uncaring light during any of that.
Because that's the way they've been portraying Fizz in this whole Fizz versus Tyrone storyline.
See, I think Tyrone has been portrayed as the rotter, don't you?
Yeah, but she's the nag. They've portrayed her as someone who, yes, you would absolutely want to get away from.
And Alan Partridge last week, he said that hen pecking works for hens. It does. Our next storyline this morning is Summer. On Monday, Todd goes round to see Summer, but she doesn't hang around and quickly leaves. Billy feels the need to pray, so talks Todd into joining him. So he gets down on the floor, takes a deep breath, and we cut away. At Roy's Rolls, Todd the Prick is able to weasel out of Summer that she was there with Nina and Seb before the attack with Kelly the Chin and ITV Corey, but they were there in a stolen car, which is why she hasn't said anything, because if she gets into trouble, she might not get to university because of what ITV Corey told her. Mm. We need to tell Billy, says Todd.
And also...
Fuck Billy, we need to tell the police.
Yeah. And also, hi, that's not going to keep you out of university,
right? Says
Todd. It's okay. It's not okay, but that's not going to keep you out of university.
He kind of does seem to think that it's okay being in a stolen car.
Right. It's just kids. This is what kids do.
Thankfully,
Billy's
suggestion...
did that. Did you do that?
In a stolen car? No. Thankfully, Billy's suggestion is to do just that, go to the police, while Todd mutters that joyriding isn't that much of a big deal, which I guess comparatively it isn't, although I doubt we're going to find out the effect that crime has had on its victims, the poor unsuspecting owners of that car.
Right.
On Wednesday, Billy has cleared his day of all non-vital religious duties so he can spend time with Summer. But she's off to school, thank you very much, and she insists that she's okay. Billy looks that way he does when he wants to interfere and tell someone what they're feeling, but suspects that he shouldn't. And Summer doesn't go to school.
No.
She goes to the metaphorical/memorial garden where she's found by Paul. She reveals that social media is blaming her for what happened. Maybe they're right. They shouldn't have been there in the first place, and she should have dragged Kelly the Chin home with her when she left.
It's weird, though, isn't it? That social media is blaming her. Isn't that weird? A little.
Summer decides to go to school after all and face the music. I wouldn't imagine that social media has exploded to blame Summer, but I can imagine that her pals are, or particularly the pals of, well, is she going to be pals with people who are pals with Nina and Seb?
Not really.
Unlikely.
No, because both of them are out of school. Both of them have been out of school, and Nina didn't go to school in the same area.
I do think that Summer could have done more, though.
Like in the initial thing, she should have said, "No, Kelly, come home with me."
And she could have said something to her pals to like stop ripping the piss out of Nina, because that's why she left in the first place.
Right, because
I just can't stand all this Nina hatred, so I'm going home. Well, how do you think Nina's feeling about it?
Right.
Yeah, she was very quick to leave and not really do very much to help the situation. Not that I'm blaming her.
No.
But she could have done more. And she'll have to live with that.
Yeah. And
On
also
Friday,
she got in that car, and even when she found out that it was stolen, she didn't leave right away, and she allowed herself to be cowed by Kelly, which would never have happened with the old Summer.
I wasn't going to be the first person to say it, but facts are facts.
Yeah.
On Friday, Paul runs into Todd outside Roy's Rolls and asks after Summer, who seemed off the last time that he spoke to her. Todd is a prick and says if something was up, she'd talk to him or Billy. Paul reminds him it's hard to open up to your parents, especially when one of them is such a prick like you. Just keep your eye on her, he says.
Yeah. And also, fuck you, Todd.
Who do you think was looking after Summer?
Yeah, well, you were fucking off.
And the whole reason why Paul's not in that house anymore
is because of you, you fucking asshole.
Right.
Fuck you, Todd. Fuck you very much.
At home,
poor Paul.
Todd is complaining to Billy about Paul's interfering and what does he know about Summer anyway?
Oh, well, he can just fuck right off.
When Billy gets a call to let him know that Summer hasn't turned up to school today. So when Summer gets home, she admits to skipping school. She just needed space with everything that's going on. She's tired and goes to lie down, leaving Billy to rub his brow. What did Paul say, he asks. And Todd reacts badly to this and storms out.
Yes, he does.
So Todd goes round to see Paul to apologise for how he reacted earlier and to thank him for having Summer's back. And if he ever needs to talk to someone about the guilt that he feels about making Seb dress up in a bin bag, Todd is happy to lend an ear.
That's not exactly what he said. He said, I'm sure you're feeling sad too because you've lost your workmate.
Right.
Yeah. And don't call me if you need an ear because we've just established that we're not the kind of people who go and have pints together.
Right. You did establish that.
Which, fair enough. Because Todd is not exactly the type of person that you'd want to bend an ear to. Not exactly an empathetic person. He's always out for himself.
Paul lives rent-free in Todd's head.
Yeah.
And it's kind of great.
Really not the other way around.
No.
Paul seems to have moved on and stuff and is genuinely concerned about Summer, cares about Summer, as he should, because he is, no matter what Todd says, Paul will always be kind of a parent to Summer because he has been a parent to Summer, much more than Todd has past few years.
Paul certainly saw through that very difficult transition phase from
one face to another.
From summer to new summer.
Yeah. And also,
But Todd's reaction to any time that Paul's name's mentioned,
yeah.
Or Paul might have a better handle on something, or
right.
Paul might have some useful information on
right.
something.
Or Paul asks about something. Yeah. Yeah. It's because he knows that his time is tenuous. He knows that truth will out eventually someday.
Right. He's seen the show.
Yeah.
Our next storyline this morning is about the Baileys.
Finally.
We've got some Bailey
Kinda.
action.
We got some Bailey action. Including, an acknowledgement that Ed was Seb's boss. So, Ed may be feeling feelings as well. It's nice that, it's briefly acknowledged that might be true.
But then we do something very strange. On Wednesday at home, Ed is preparing for Glory coming home by dropping screws on the floor and setting up a circular saw in the living room that only has room for the massive banister that's there now all of a sudden. James remarks that he's closed the yard, which allows Ed 2 sentences to reflect on how nice Seb was. Then there's an abrupt text. They're nearly home.
Finally.
Michael and Grace and
the
Glory.
baby.
Later, James is upstairs reading Glory, Rio Ferdinand's autobiography. That was hilarious.
Love that.
Meanwhile, downstairs, Ed is showing off the stuff that he's bought on the recommendation of Aggie. There's colic medication, there's teething stuff, and the best bum cream there is, which helped Michael's body and his winkle. When Glory starts crying, Ed is about to help, but Michael's
And he's also bought the wrong diapers.
but Michael's already gone up the stairs in twos. Yeah, but there's Aggie's recommendations.
Right, yeah.
But those aren't the ones that
That Grace wants to
Grace-
use. Yeah.
she wants Glory to shit in something different.
Yes. And, fair enough.
Is it?
Yeah.
You don't
'cause-
just say thank you.
Not necessarily, because she may have bought the more environmentally friendly, biodegradable diapers and stuff, as opposed to hardcore diapers that will exist long after the nuclear holocaust that will destroy us all. Although it's probably not going to be a nuclear holocaust. It's probably going to be another huge pandemic.
It's a strain of this, probably. Later, Michael takes Ed to the pub and tells him he's being too full on with the kid and tells his dad to leave his own house and go see Aggie for a while.
No. That was Ed's idea.
He's kind of guided towards it.
Well, no, Michael just says that, he and Grace want to be able to have the room to breathe and to make their own mistakes. And that's a fair point. It is a fair point.
He and Grace want to make their own mistakes, and Ed agrees. Then Ronnie comes out to offer to buy them a drink, but Ed and Michael act like he's just farted in their faces, and Michael leaves. Ed tells Ronnie not to take it to heart. Ronnie starts to feel sorry for himself, never having set down roots anywhere. What this has to do with anything, I'm not sure.
It has nothing to do with anything.
Ed suggests that Ronnie can't build any bridges until he understands that he was the one what tore them down in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Wise words from Edison.
Yes.
So on Friday, Ed's ready to leave and throws the keys to the Jesus camper van to Michael and asks him to keep it ticked over when he's gone. Ronnie appears out of nowhere and advises taking the heap of shite to the scrappies.
Which is absolutely ridiculous, because as many people on the Twitter have stated, that Volkswagen camper, there's no way Ed would have been able to buy that for only $1,000.
Yeah, they're ridiculously expensive.
They're ridiculously
collector's
expensive collector's items and very rare. So Ronnie can just fuck himself.
Ed wonders why Ronnie always has to bring him down, and then he leaves. Back at the Rovers, Ronnie is telling Jenny that he doesn't think Ed will ever forgive him for claiming that he knocked up Aggie. That Ed knows how to hold a grudge. Like it's the most ridiculous thing to still be angry about. Oh, come on, I only nearly took your son and your grandchild away from you.
Right, and just inserted myself into this moment of joy for everyone and made the whole thing about me instead of Grace and the baby.
I still like Ronnie though.
Although, in fairness, he's the only one who said anything about, the racial profiling that happened to Grace, and it was the only one who seemed to care.
He was the only one that was outraged about it.
Right. Something that nobody seems to care about anymore. Why are they not talking about taking Freshgos to court or, demanding that guy be arrested? Why is... Breathe, Helen. Breathe.
You're fond of things breathing. Ronnie thinks that it's time to move on, and worried that she'll lose his rent, she talks him into making a grand gesture. Ronnie thinks this is a great idea, but it's going to need her help.
And also, Jenny has a thing for Ronnie.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. And he has a thing for her, too. It's so obvious. The chemistry is just so
Well,
steamy already.
I think it's gone from chemistry to something that's verging on being quite explicit about it, which we'll get to.
Yes.
So the plan seems to be for Jenny to invite Michael and Grace to the Rovers to wet the baby's head, and the drinks are on her. Michael isn't sure because Gloria's due a nap, but Grace has accepted before Jenny's even finished asking.
Good for her.
In the Rovers, Gemma has everyone distracted with her Joker mask and tales of pissing herself and fresh clothes.
And her boobs.
Which allows Ronnie to go into Michael's jacket pocket and steal the keys for the Jesus camper van.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go and get it all pimped up, he tells Jenny later.
Yes.
And Ed is going to love it, which means that Ed
is going to hate it. No, because one of the whole points of it was that he and the boys were going to work on it together, and it was going to be something that was going to bring them together and kind of try to heal all of this rupture that Ronnie has caused in their family.
Right, and it was realising a dream that he had with Aggie.
Right.
That Ronnie's no part of this.
No.
And Ronnie has no idea what that dream looked like. Maybe the
Right.
dream was going away in a beat-up classic Jesus camper van.
Mm-hmm.
Having it pimped up doesn't sound like it's going to be looking anything like how it looks at the moment.
Right.
It sounds like it's
It sounds like more than just a new coat of paint.
hydraulic axles and all that kind of nonsense going on. If I've learned anything from Pimp for My Ride 30 years ago. But then Ronnie asks Jenny how she wants paid. Do you want paid benefits in kind? And she says, I find
Oink.
that cold hard cash rarely disappoints, she says.
Yeah. There.
Mm-hmm.
Whew.
I do declare,
Clutching my pearls.
you have got my heart aflutter, sir.
I'm like that gif of
Leonardo DiCaprio?
no,
Oh.
the Golden Girls where Blanche has the water bottle and she sprays herself with the water bottle and goes, whew. Squirt, squirt. Whew.
Squirt. Do you think something's going to happen? If that happens, Johnny is done.
Yeah. A tall, handsome, able-bodied man versus Johnny.
Constantly going on about chili con carne.
It would be devastating because, you know, she made such a big deal about standing by him and she'll be there for him when he comes out and everything. When he's like, no, you know, go live your life.
Forget about me.
Forget about me.
Just come and visit me every now and again.
Also, let's remember Ronnie is still married.
Oh, that's true.
Although we haven't seen his wife
Yeah, that
in
doesn't
like
seem to
over a
mean very
month.
much to Ronnie.
That's never... Is that ever going to be explained? Do you think?
Let's just get the sinkhole done. Let's get that explained and then we can move on to lesser things. So penultimate storyline today is educating Daniel. On Friday in Roy's Rolls, Sam is under the impression that David reads books and asks his opinion of Treasure Island. Daniel overhears and remarks that for comprehension tasks, you really need to know what the question's really asking. How the fuck would you know, demands Sam. And so it comes out that Daniel is a student teacher, so Sam ropes him into helping him for this Oakhill entry exam thing or something. Who cares?
Yeah. And David's very keen on this because David just wants
Someone to
take
look after.
Sam off of his hands.
And Mersey Tart mentioned this on Twitter, but everyone in the story has just said, fuck it, I'm taking the day off, because Sam should be at school, Daniel should be at college, and David should be at work.
Yes.
At number 8, Daniel turns up to tutor Sam, but it turns out that Sam doesn't accept any old muppet as his teacher and has an entry exam of his own, and he's got a stopwatch and everything.
I mean, I hate it and I love it at the same time.
It's two reasonably annoying characters annoying each other. So I'm kind of on board.
And that's it. You know, if it was anybody but Daniel, I would hate this. But because it's Daniel, I love this.
Right.
It's also very young Sheldon, though, isn't it? Still?
Yeah, I think this is episode 4 of Young Sheldon. I'd need to check. Daniel has scraped through with a pass, but doesn't know if he wants the job because Sam is high maintenance. Thanks very much, says Sam. And he offers Daniel 30 quid an hour. Daniel's about to bite Sam's hand off, but pushes for 35. Deal. David thinks that Natasha is going to kill Sam, but Sam says, yeah, she'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's an investment.
Right. She's got the money.
Right.
We know she's got the money. She's a very wealthy woman.
Yeah. Whatever happened to that 50 grand? She offered 50 grand for Oliver's fund.
Right. And she transferred it, and they got it, and they used it.
She did pay that because I thought that Nick had turned it down. Then Leanne found out that Nick had turned it down.
And got very angry. So then Nick said, well, we'll take it after all. And she asked for his bank stuff. And you thought that she was bad. You thought she was going to steal money from Nick. But it turns out you were wrong. And shame on you. Shame on you for accusing this nice woman of being a bad person.
I'm not accepting that I'm wrong in this yet. And I think the story's got some legs yet. Anyway, she does seem to have the money.
Yes.
And now she's down in that London.
Right.
Having her dreams set asunder. People will stab you just for looking at them in that London.
Right. Unless it's the 1990s and you're a goth. And then it's the safest place to be.
Apparently so.
Thank you, Wendy. You know, we...
Actually, my memory of London, being there with my mum, was when I was just starting to be into Iron Maiden.
Uh-huh.
And so I'd have been maybe 10. And I'm walking about London with my mum wearing a Iron Maiden The Trooper t-shirt. And I got compliments for that t-shirt all day that I wore it from everybody.
Aw.
Here's this wee kid wearing a vaguely offensive t-shirt. I'm going to pat him on the head. I got patted on the head. Love the t-shirt, kid. So yeah, I tend to agree with Wendy on that.
Yeah.
It was the safest place.
Man, people love ironic children. You know, it's why South Park is so successful. You know, ooh, kids who swear. Oh, although it's more than kids who swear now, but initially kids who swear, and it's hilarious. So, and I mean, I went to high school where 90% of my male classmates looked exactly like Robert Smith. So my high school was definitely a safe space for...
Really?
Yeah.
I was, in my year, I was maybe one of 5 or 6 moshers. So we had long hair, kind of smelly, leather jackets, that kind of thing.
So...
No change there, right? Apart from the hair. Although it is getting a little Hollywood at the moment.
It is not. You just shaved it all off.
There was maybe a similar number of goths that we got on with okay. Didn't like their music. They didn't like ours. But the fact that they were passionate about music and we were as well gave us some common ground. And then there was just everybody else. And everybody else was kind of generic pop music. All looked like Bros at the time.
I have no idea who that is.
Deacon Blue-ish.
Okay. Yeah.
Stone Roses maybe a little bit. And then there was, so that was kind of the kind of makeup of my school.
Yeah. Of course, now I see them on Facebook and not a single one of them looks like Robert Smith anymore.
No.
Except
Robert Smith.
Except for maybe weight-wise.
Right. Oh, is he a big guy now?
He's put on some pounds.
Well, that's COVID.
Yeah.
Our final storyline today...
Not as bad as Morrissey, though.
Oh, yeah. It's like a casserole. Our final storyline... Our opening storyline was the criminals. Our closing storyline is the victims. On Monday, Abby's at home with Debbie and Kev. A condolence card is delivered, not by Dustin, but Abby, understandably, is a bit too distant to pretend to be interested. That's a strange name for a postman.
What?
Don't get many Dustins in the UK.
Really? It sounds like a very British name, but then again, Americans think, half the population of the UK is named Nigel, so...
Right, when we both know it's only a third. The police liaison officer is speaking with Abby and Kev, but she hasn't got much to tell them. The cops haven't arrested ITV Corey or Kelly the Chin at this point, and the lack of action is frustrating Abby, despite Kev's best efforts insisting that everyone is doing everything by the book, and this is for the best. In the hospital, Nina's out of bed and looking terrible as Abby tells her that the police are being all chocolate teapots here, and she needs to know anything that Nina knows. Nina wants nothing more than to help, but is having trouble remembering anything. She explains it was her idea to go home by the canal where they ran into ITV Corey, Kelly the Chin, and some unnamed actors in non-speaking roles. She doesn't know if it was them who attacked her. Abby tells her that she has to remember, but the more she tries, the more it seems to fade away. Abby tells her that she's got to do better, and then Roy has to intervene and say, I think that's quite enough for just now. At home, Abby doesn't know how Nina doesn't remember. Kev says maybe it's just because she's had brain surgery. And deep down, Abby seems to know this. She just wants to know what happened to her son. And the liaison officer drops in to update Abby on the rest, but can't tell her any more. They'll have to keep Seb's stuff and his body while forensics are working on them, but they found something that they took a copy of and they delivered it to her in a brown envelope. Later, she needs to get in contact with the liaison officer, but she's lost the card and the contact details, and Kev thinks that she should focus on Seb rather than ITV Corey and maybe open that envelope that the cops gave her, but Abby already knows what's in it. It's his speech. He wouldn't let her hear it, and now she never will. She calms down and reads the speech, and it's low on jokes, but it's heartfelt. She deserved to be happy, it says. She wishes that she'd told him how much she loved him, but Kev says that he knew he was the happiest he'd ever been, he says. And I think Kev's probably right at that, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Kev takes Abby to the memorial garden thing, and she seems to get some comfort until she sees ITV Corey getting loaded back into the police car, and inexplicably, ITV Corey shouts that he's getting taken back to his mum and dad's house, he's not going to jail. It seems strange for him to have a conversation or try and instigate a conversation with Abby at that moment, but the plot was pleased that he did.
Yeah. Yeah, because he seems to be rubbing it in.
A little bit, wasn't he? I mean,
he's an asshole.
Right, he has his face saying that he thinks that he's saying something that's helpful, when it clearly wasn't. On Wednesday, Abby's sitting up in the very early morning thinking about Bob the Builder and Seb's obsession with fixing things in their shitty flat when he was a kid. Kev begs her to come back to bed and get some rest, but she declines and asks for some peace. At the hospital, Nina's getting ready to leave. She needs to get out and try to refresh her memory and stuff. She's going through all the what-ifs and it's driving her crazy, but when she winces as she sits down, Roy's concerned that this is all a bit too soon and maybe she shouldn't be checking out just yet. Kev's tried everything but Abby, so he's out of options.
So he goes to Sally.
So they come round to suggest that she and Abby go for a walk. Maybe that'll make you feel better getting some fresh air and that. But Abby knows what this is all about. They're both worried that she's going to get off her tits on smack cocaine. Well, she's thought about it, but she isn't going to because she has an image in her head of this 4-year-old Seb begging her not to take any of that nasty medicine. And that's putting her off. And again, she asks to be left alone. Abby has a bunch of voicemails, mostly from wedding suppliers, that she says there's a call from Sarah, from Gina, from Chic Wedding Cake, The Undertaker, and then Helen. What did you say?
I'll never tell.
Kev offers to help call folk back, but Abby is reluctant to give him her phone because
I'm so glad you caught that, because I caught that too, and I was like, oh.
He has fat fingers, and she doesn't trust him not to delete Seb's message by mistake. She's too cowardly to listen to it. So he goes off for milk. And on his way back with the milk, Kev has bumped into Sally, who tells him that Tim's told Faye. That's one less person to tell that you probably would never get around to telling in the first place. Then they both watch as Abby... Would you tell Faye?
Yeah, because Faye dated Seb as well.
Oh, of course, yeah. Then they both watch as Abby leaves the house, jumps into the car and drives off. She goes to the police station to let the cops hear the message, which includes sounds of Seb being attacked and somebody laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Evelyn's back.
Yay!
And she's in Roy's Rolls, where Kirk has been a bit too Kirk, going on about Fizz and Tyrone splitting up. He ends up ordering himself a cream horn, paying for it, and then leaving without picking it up. And Roy becomes very animated when Evelyn criticises Kirk for being thick as shite in the neck of a bottle. And so he throws her out.
Yeah.
Cancelled by Cropper, she says. Who'd have thunk it? The message is quite significant at the police station, but it's going to take Craig quite some time to run his analysis on it. So they keep Abby's phone for now, and we'll be in touch.
It's funny that we don't see Craig at all in the storyline.
I know. When he turns up at the drop of a hat.
Unless it's like a serious crime. Then they...
But he's CID now.
Well, he's not
This is
CID.
exactly him
He's
that
in
should be...
CID training. He's not officially CID though.
This should be exactly the thing that he's involved in. Because I thought that this is why they're bumping him up. Because a PC wouldn't have anything to do with this. It's a moida. Evelyn comes back a little later and Roy apologises for snapping earlier. He found malice where it wasn't intended, he says. The state of the world and the Seb attack has gotten weary. 'Twas ever thus, says Evelyn. Roy talks a bit about Haley and how their choices seem to rankle with people who weren't affected by them, and Nina's the same. Physically she may recover, but inside she'll be changed. And Roy seems to be going with the she was attacked because of the way that she dressed line. Abby is back from the police station. If anything, the message has confused her more than ever because it wasn't a fight or a confrontation. She confesses to some of the dark thoughts that she's been having, the revenge that she wants to enact, and Kev hates that she's dealing with this alone and wants to help, and she finally lets him in. She can't do this on her own, she says. Then on Friday, Roy bumps into Abby coming out of Dev's in her housecoat. He asks her how she's doing. She says, "How do you think I'm doing?" And then says Nina is the only one who can help her find out why Seb was killed. And at that, she rushes off because the police have pulled up at her door. And the police officer tells Abby that Eli and someone called Jason have been charged with GBH and they've both pled guilty. Kelly the Chin has been charged with GBH and murder, and as yet, ITV Corey hasn't been charged with anything. A witness has said the attack was triggered because of Nina's appearance. From what we saw, I don't think it was.
No, it wasn't. But all of those kids and stuff were shouting things at her about her appearance. But the only reason why they followed them was because ITV Corey said, "Come on, let's go get them," after they left. And ITV Corey hates Nina because of Asha.
Right.
Not because of the way she's dressed.
Right.
So this is...
So this is ITV, and this becomes ITV Corey's line then. That the reason, because Kelly doesn't have a reason for being so violent.
No.
This is his story.
And I'm curious as to what's going through the heads of these other kids. Did somehow was ITV Corey somehow able to shut them up in some way about his involvement? Because it's not very believable to me that nobody else has said, yeah, well, Corey was there too, and he's the one who said, "Come on, let's go get them." That everybody seems to be either not saying anything or falling in line behind, yeah, we did this for Kelly for some reason, even though she's not our friend.
Right, because
and she's just kind of a hanger-on.
Eli and Jason are Corey's friends.
Right. Not Kelly's friends.
So they're backing him up.
Right. But how are they convincing the police that they did all this for Kelly?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
So Abby and Kev suspect that ITV Corey is this unnamed witness, but now that people have been charged, Seb can be buried, the cops say. So Roy goes to see Nina at hospital. She's still confused about what happened, but she had a dream, and it's hard for her to tell where the dream ends and reality begins.
And that feels really odd too. You'd think that they would wait until somebody was actually convicted.
Yeah. But the voice she heard when she woke up was ITV Corey's. She's sure of it, and she's sure that he was the one who killed Seb. The police go and explain all this to Nina, who becomes upset when it seems that ITV Corey is getting away with it, when she's sure that he's the one who killed Seb Dreams aren't evidence, says the copper, and she leaves Nina with Roy, who tries to find a positive in that 3 people have been charged.
I am shocked and surprised that not once does Nina say to the police, yes, well, Corey actually hates me because I dated his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Corey hates me. These other people don't hate me. These other people, Kelly doesn't hate me for being a goth. I didn't date anybody that Kelly dated. Corey is the only one who has a genuine motive.
Right, this doesn't seem to be information that the police are privy to.
Right, and they should be.
It feels important, right?
Yeah, it feels important that ITV Corey is the only one who has a genuine motive.
Roy has left and come back, and he has Nina's stuff, and she's ready to come home again, hoping it will help her remember. He gives her some privacy, and she takes her black dress out of the bag and looks at it like it represents something different to her now, and in her mind she hears ITV Corey shouting abuse at her. Abby and Kev have gone to see the Undertaker, but he manages to put his foot in it by suggesting a gothic-themed funeral. Todd's already had his cowboy idea shot down then, but Abby says that Nina was a goth, not Seb, and she doesn't want any of that rubbish anywhere near the funeral, and she storms off.
Which is ironic, because all funerals are goth. Because they're funerals.
So, yeah, I guess. Nina is back on the street, and she sees Asha and has a go at her for giving ITV Corey an alibi and being involved with him in the first place, and she's about to blame it all on Asha when Abby turns up and blames it all on Nina. If you didn't dress like a freak, if you were normal, Seb would be alive. You ain't wise, you ain't woke, you're a weirdo. And Nina rushes off, and when Asha tells Abby that she's out of line, Abby doubles down. She meant every single word. Everything has a consequence, even dressing up as a Victorian for kicks. Asha huffs and shakes her head and leaves Abby to it.
I don't like this.
No, I don't like it either.
And people have pointed out saying that something happened because of the way someone is dressed is victim blaming.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because you can walk by somebody on the street and think to yourself, geez, that's an odd choice of clothing, and then go on your merry way.
Mm-hmm.
So we as a society, or at least parts of society, have been really trying to fight against this idea that the way someone dresses is why they've been assaulted in some way. That saying this happened because of what you're wearing is victim blaming. And it is.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to rape, this has been a huge struggle for forever.
Going back to even before the Jodie Foster movie.
Right. The way you're dressed, because your skirt was short.
Right.
Or something, that's why you were raped.
Mm-hmm.
When that's not why you were raped. You were raped because the dude was a rapist.
Right.
There have been gallery exhibitions of women's clothing that they were wearing when they were raped, and it covers the whole
it doesn't
board.
matter, right? It's
like jeans, or in the most heartbreaking instances, children's clothing,
right,
and everything. And our daughter, when she goes to school, unfortunately this hasn't happened this year because she hasn't gone to school, but as an 11-year-old girl last year, she had to do the fingertip test with her shorts before going to school, because girls, if they wear shorts that don't go past their fingertips, will be sent home to change clothes because it's distracting. The way an 11-year-old girl dresses is distracting, and that's just you can't do that. You can't do that with rape, and you can't do that with murder. We know that that all of this happened because ITV Corey hates Nina.
Right.
He got Kelly to slap Nina. That was all him, because he knew that Kelly liked him, and so that she could be manipulated into doing it.
Yeah, plus he got her drunk as well.
Right. Yeah, he got all these kids drunk. He manipulated Kelly. he laughed when people were making, he's the leader of this group. And so when people are making fun of the way Nina is dressed and he laughs, they keep doing it.
Right.
Because that's how bullies are.
Yeah, she's the... I'm reluctant to call him an alpha male, but he is the leader of the group.
Yeah,
but
he's the kingpin.
He's just a bully in the,
Right, yeah.
in the whole situation. He's bullying his friends as much as he's bullying anybody else.
Right, absolutely. So I find it a troubling thread to say all of this can be put down to the way Nina dresses. And I really hope that is explored when, ITV Corey finally does get his comeuppance, and it's made clear that the reason why he hates her has nothing to do with her clothes. Because like I said, and I mean, we've all done it. We've all been walking down the street sometime and seen somebody wearing something that we thought was odd. Even people who dress odd themselves at one point or another has seen somebody else dressing even odder.
Right. Or not quite odd enough and go, oh, that's a bit weird.
Right. Yeah. You
don't assault them. You don't kill them.
You may look at them
rape
weird. You may laugh about it with your friends later, but you don't feel compelled to kick them or beat them up. Mm-hmm. People who do that sort of thing are going to do it no matter how you're dressed. They're going to find somebody who they feel is a weak link, and they're going to do things like this to them.
Right.
Assholes be assholes no matter what.
Right. And murderers be murderers
right.
no matter what.
And rapists be rapists. Right. Yeah.
I think it's just shocking that it comes out of Abby's mouth
when
Abby has, for the last couple of years, has been the hero of every story. And here she is, albeit very recently bereaved, and people say things that they don't mean. And,
right.
And she's kind of afforded that a little bit by some of the other characters that, she's going through an awful lot herself at the moment. But,
yes.
But even with that there and understood, it's still kind of shocking to hear her.
Right.
Kind of being against Nina.
Right.
And being against Nina means... almost means agreeing with the people that have done it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a very odd place for her to be.
Because she uses the same words. She calls her a freak. Mm-hmm. She uses the same words that the bullies use for Nina. And you're right, because Abby has always been the one who's kind of been the one who is the defender of the defenseless.
Right.
Let's remember the whole Ray Weinstein thing. Mm-hmm. She brought those other women in and said, he's done things to these women. This is not a good thing. And torches his car.
Blew his fucking car to smithereens.
Right. She's the chaotic good to Roy's neutral good,
right.
And so for her, it was quite shocking to hear those words come out of Abby's mouth.
And
grief or no grief.
And it's further shocking to hear her reiterate it.
Yeah.
Later.
Because if it was anybody else's child who died, if it wasn't her son, she would be the first in line to say, you cannot blame this on the way Nina is dressed. She deserves to have her individuality.
Right. So Asha goes into Roy's roles to explain that Abby's confrontation with Nina. Carla is fucking furious. This isn't on. Roy grabs his grocery bag and anorak, his secret weapons obviously, and dashes off to find her. Meanwhile, Abby is battering the fuck out of a Toyota Yaris with a big spanner when Carla comes along and tells Abby that she was out of order. And Abby triples down, says that she just played into Nina's hands there, giving her carte blanche to wear even more black, feel more depressed. And then she basically says it should have been Nina that died.
Mm. And Carla is the only one out of all of us who says sensibly, when they're still in Roy's roles, that anybody with a hint of individuality just gets beaten down, and you can't blame people for being individuals and for being a little bit different when, it's society at large that says, that they're wrong. It's society's fault.
Roy finds Nina on the back street crying against the wall and takes a little seat on the pavement with her, which was adorable. She hasn't been able to remember anything. She says that she should be the one who should be dead. Why does everyone hate her? Roy says grief makes people do strange things, but Nina's worried that she's been wrong all this time. Maybe she is a freak. Maybe this is all her fault, especially if she stood her ground and argued with the people that beat them up, and she can't even remember that. But Roy is having none of it. He's so proud of her and of what she's become, but she won't listen. She and him are both freaks, she says. And back home in the bathroom, Nina is staring at herself in the mirror, kind of drawing a little bit of comparison there with the Asha.
Yeah.
Months ago with the skin whitening thing.
Yeah, the Twitter handle formerly known as the Ben Price fan page tweeted about this and had them side by side.
I have been beaten to so many things this week.
In fact, I was about ready to mention the fact that she did that, and you know how what a nice clear comparison that was.
It really was.
Still wish we'd delved deeper into that whole storyline.
She's staring at herself in the mirror as she very carefully, very deliberately washes her makeup off to reveal the bruises underneath. Metaphorical much?
And it's just, it has such an impact because if she had just put on the dress and not done her makeup, I seriously doubt Abby could have looked her in the face and said all of those things.
That's true. That is true.
With all of those bruises, because her makeup covered everything
all
really quite well.
Mm-hmm. So later,
I'm
Asha
still
comes
surprised they didn't shave her whole head, considering she had brain surgery. I know they shaved like a little bit right here. Expected it, typically they shave the whole head.
And I know that they try and retain that kind of thing for, her hair is obviously very important to her. But if speed is of the essence,
right? Yeah,
you don't fucking care,
right?
That's not your job. It's to coiffure this to make it look like it's going to be okay afterwards,
right?
Asha comes back into Roy's Rolls to see Nina just as she comes downstairs dressed in Shona's white jumper, toned black jeans and no makeup. She insists that she's fine. Asha says that she doesn't look like Nina anymore. Good, says Nina. Nina has decided not to be Nina anymore. And that is how we end this week's episodes. 18 months ago, I said when Nina was introduced that the show would strip Nina of her goth character, and here we are. Didn't think it would be coming through this though.
Yeah.
I thought they would never have the strength to have someone like that in the show for that length of time without making her more blancmange, making her more Magnolia.
Yeah.
But they stuck to it.
Well.
Until now.
And it seems like they stuck to it just so they could do the storyline, which just feels really cynical to say, but it kind of feels that way, doesn't it? Because supposedly they had this in their back pocket, the idea to do this kind of storyline since 2007.
Right.
And just we're waiting for the right time to...
Well, the right character comes along that has the right impact with the audience and all that. I think the stars kind of aligned a little bit. But
still.
They're writing long-term storylines here.
Right.
They have to be...
Yeah.
They have to be manipulative like that, which is kind of what we talked about the other week.
Yes. Oh, but still, it's sad.
It's heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking, and and again, wear what you want, ladies. Because assholes gonna be assholes, no matter what, and and that's going to be true until society changes and becomes less victim blamey and less of a rape culture that, even in instances that don't involve rape, tend to blame the victim for what they're wearing or how they look. And it's just interesting because in all of this, I was thinking back, and why do people hate goths? And, I guess like in the 80s when goth culture started in the 1980s, it was like during the height of the Satanic Panic. And in fact, goth culture kind of was a response to the Satanic Panic. Like, oh, people are freaking out and everything. So we're just going to stick a thumb in their eye by wearing all black and, writing dark music about death and everything. And that was like the beginning of the Church of Satan, which is neither a church nor has anything to do with Satan. So people hated goths in the 80s for that. And then the 90s, it was really Columbine in this country that made everybody just really suspicious of goths, which is really interesting because
I don't think any of those things are true for the UK.
Because it's really interesting that that's what happened, because it's kind of like with hippie culture, people felt that hippies were on the whole rather harmless and maybe have a point about the Vietnam War, all until the Manson family. And then all of a sudden hippies became very suspicious and we have to beat up all the hippies and throw all the hippies in jail because they're all secretly murderers. So this seems to happen to youth subcultures all the time, I
don't know if there was a particular event in the UK other than it was kind of post-punk. Mm-hmm. It was kind of an anti the colourful Mohicans and clothing of the punk movement.
Or Mohawks, as they're known here in the United States.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also Mohawk in there. Oh, I looked this up before, didn't I?
Yes, because we covered it for Common Language.
I think I also did it for a hindsight corner of this. I don't know. Another great week of acting chops being displayed by all concerned in this storyline.
Yes, very much so.
When you forget that you're watching a TV show, that something's getting done right, and I felt that several points through this, and felt really kind of engulfed in the emotion of it all. And when someone can shock you,
yes,
in 2021, like Abby shocked me, this week, it's like, wow, TV is still powerful,
right? Yeah. So that's exactly it. Even when we don't agree with the way a storyline is kind of framing things, even when we don't agree what's coming out of the mouths of a character, we can't deny how well it's being acted and how believable the acting is, because I think that's part of the thing. If she wasn't so great of an actor, Sally Carmen, if she wasn't so brilliant an actor, those words would have fallen flat.
Yeah, you wouldn't have believed them. And you do believe
she's such a great actor.
She's really, really, really good. I feel like there's a little bit of a weight off the Abby character here, being no longer she's not the hero of this story.
No.
And in this instance, she's a bit of an antagonist.
Right. Yes. Very much so. And it's good because, we were kind of picking on that.
I was getting so bored with her being the hero.
With her, yeah. She's constantly the hero. She's constantly the one beating down the doors and saving the day.
I'll land this plane.
Right, yeah.
I'll deliver this baby.
She is the Carol Danvers of this show. Bringing it all back into the MCU there.
You're deplorable. Oh. And that was the week that was Coronation Street. What was your moment of the week? For me,
it was Nina and Roy sitting on that sidewalk and him telling her that how proud he is of her.
For me, it is Toya dishing out the telts.
Oh, that's a good
to
one
Laura
too.
the Chin,
That's a good one too.
That was amazing.
It was amazing.
And Georgia had such range in that from being, and to give credit to Laura the Chin as well. I just realised I called Toya Georgia.
Yes. But again, such a good actor.
The two of them though, one was up, and then there was a comeback, and then there was a comeback, and then Toya had a knockout punch.
Right.
There was so much going on in that I loved.
And like her whole face, you could just feel the pent up rage and the controlled rage. And it's brilliant because we've seen Toya before not be able to control that
Keep a
rage,
lid on it, right?
not be able to keep a lid on it, and therefore lose the argument. But here she's learned how to control it. She's been able to channel it into something good, and she wins. Yeah, okay, that's our moment of the week. That's our.
I've got goosebumps just now thinking about it. Is that good? Toya, dishing out the telts is our
Moment of the week.
Our moment of the week.
your born moment of the week.
Sharon trying to get Toya to call Leanne.
Fuck off, Sharon.
Fuck off, Sharon.
Jesus. So, she's behind you. That's a pantomime thing. I keep on forgetting that it's not a thing over here. Yeah.
No, I
Sharon
get the reference.
being the pantomime villain and just trying to turn every storyline into nobody cares about you this week,
No,
Sharon.
no. Fuck off.
Fucking do one. That's it.
Boy moment of the week.
Yeah, it really does damage, I think, to that storyline.
It did.
Yeah.
No place for that.
No.
Shall we wrap this one up?
Yes, please.
If you clean the pee on your woody, it'll probably do you good to share that information here. We're the talk of the street at gmail.com and we're at Corey Podcast on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. You can shout me and Helen a coffee by heading to ko-fi.com/the talk of the street.
Please.
Check out the clicky section of voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice.
Yes, if you know someone or you are someone who loves Coronation Street and is hearing impaired, what you can watch the YouTube videos of our show, and there's closed captioning on it, and it's astonishingly accurate.
Even with me.
Yes.
I don't understand what I say half the time. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode, and we will be back next week
Yes, we will.
with more.
Talk on the
Talk of the
street.
Street. Cheerio.
Bye.